Judge Gerald Cross loomed over the bench, his white hair slicked back, black robe pressed to perfection, and lips curled in something just short of a sneer. This wasn't about justice. The judge's voice cut through the courtroom like a knife through silence. Samuel Wilson stood up slowly, his polished shoes barely making a sound against the cold tile floor. He was only 14, but he held himself like someone much older, like someone who had learned, too early, how to carry himself in rooms full of people waiting to tear him down. Next to him, his mother squeezed his hand. Her eyes were tired but fierce. She hadn't slept, not really. Not since the day they got the summons. Judge Gerald Cross loomed over the bench, his white hair slicked back, black robe pressed to perfection, and lips curled in something just short of a sneer. This wasn't about justice. Not to him. His daughter, Madison Cross, had stormed into their house 3 days earlier with a black eye and a story full of holes. She pointed the finger at the quiet black kid in her class, the one who never talked back. The one everyone liked. Samuel. And that was enough for Judge Cross. No investigation. No facts. Just fury. I see no reason to delay this hearing, Judge Cross said, glaring down at Samuel like he was already in a jumpsuit. You're charged with assaulting a fellow student, my daughter, no less. Our community has no tolerance for violence. Samuel opened his mouth to speak, but his mom's hand tightened. He glanced at her, then at the courtroom full of whispering parents, teachers, reporters. He cleared his throat. Your Honor, before we continue, may I make a call? Judge Cross laughed, a short, mocking sound. This is a courtroom, boy, not a phone booth. I understand, sir, Samuel said calmly, reaching into his pocket. But my father asked me to call him if it came to this. Your father? Cross said, arching a brow. And who, exactly, is your father? Samuel didn't flinch. He stared straight into the judge's eyes. The United States Attorney General. The courtroom exploded. Gasps, murmurs, someone dropped their pen. Judge Cross's smirk twitched. He leaned forward. Repeat that. Samuel held up the phone, already ringing. He'll be on the line in 3 seconds. Click. Sam, came the voice, firm and commanding. What's happening in that courtroom? Judge Cross's face went pale. And just like that, everything changed, the room froze. The bailiff stopped mid-step. A reporter slowly lowered his camera. Judge Cross didn't move a muscle, but his jaw clenched so tight it looked like he might shatter a tooth. Samuel handed the phone to his mother, who pressed it to her ear. Yes, sir, she said, eyes locked on the judge. We're in court now. Yes. He just charged him. No, no legal counsel allowed. Her voice was calm, but each word landed like a hammer. She held the phone out. The Attorney General would like a word with you, Your Honor. Judge Cross stared at the device like it was ticking. He didn't reach for it. He didn't even blink. This is highly irregular, he said, his voice suddenly thin. Court proceedings do not require railroading innocent children, Samuel's mother cut in, her tone sharp enough to draw blood. Are you denying a direct call from the head of the Department of Justice? The room had never been quieter. Cross finally snatched the phone. This is Judge Cross, he said stiffly. A pause. Then another. His face shifted, first confusion, then discomfort, and finally, something like fear. Yes, sir, he said. Yes, I understand. No, I had not been informed. Yes. Of course. He slowly lowered the phone, handed it back without a word. Samuel looked around. The energy in the room had changed. No one was whispering anymore. They were watching. Listening. Waiting. What's your full name, son? Cross asked, his voice lower now. Samuel tilted his head. Samuel Elijah Wilson. The judge nodded slowly. He knew that name now. Everyone did. It had been on headlines just last year when his father, Elijah Wilson, had been appointed as the first black U.S. Attorney General in over 2 decades. Cross cleared his throat. We'll reconvene in 20 minutes. Court is in recess. He slammed the gavel and stood, but the authority was gone from his posture. He didn't just walk out, he retreated. Samuel turned to his mom. She gave him a small nod. You did good, she whispered. This isn't over, Samuel said quietly. Not by a long shot. And he was right, the hallway outside the courtroom was buzzing like a hornet's nest. Reporters were already on their phones, security guards whispered into radios, and teachers who'd once called Samuel exceptional now stared like they didn't know what to say, or if they were allowed to say anything at all. Samuel walked through the crowd with his mother by his side. People stepped aside, not because they wanted to, because they didn't want to be in the way of whatever was coming. Behind them, Judge Cross's clerk rushed into his chambers, slamming the door behind her. Samuel didn't look back. Where's Madison? He asked, his voice low. His mom glanced at him. Does it matter right now? It does to me, he said. Because she lied. And that lie was seconds away from turning into a criminal record that would have followed him for the rest of his life. The school hallway was the last place he'd seen her, 3 days ago. She'd been crying. Not because of him, he'd never touched her. They weren't even in the same friend group. But by the end of that day, rumors were already spreading. He pushed her. No, he slapped her. I heard he called her a name and she freaked. The story changed with every telling, except the ending. He was always the villain. Samuel sat on a bench outside the courtroom, phone still in his hand. I don't get it, he muttered. Why me? His mom looked at him, and something shifted in her eyes. You do get it, she said softly. You just wish you didn't. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Inside the chambers, Judge Cross was pacing like a caged animal. Do you know how bad this looks? He hissed at his clerk. Sir, with all due respect, you were about to sentence the Attorney General's son without evidence. She assaulted herself. You think I don't know my own daughter? Silence. The kind that says you've already lost but no one wants to be the one to say it. Back in the hallway, Samuel's phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. You don't know the whole story. He frowned. Another message. Meet me at the back stairs. Alone. He showed his mom. She narrowed her eyes. Do not go anywhere by yourself. But Samuel was already standing. Something about that message felt real. Not safe, but true. And truth was the one thing he hadn't gotten yet. Samuel slipped past the court security like a shadow. He knew this building, he'd walked through it with his father once during a school trip. Everyone had smiled at him that day. Today, their eyes followed him with suspicion. Or fear. Or both. The back stairs were cold and quiet. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a pale green glow on the concrete walls. The kind of place where secrets felt safe. Or dangerous. He waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Then, footsteps. Light. Nervous. Someone turned the corner. Madison Cross. Her face was pale, her mascara smudged like she cried and wiped it too fast. She didn't look like the untouchable daughter of a judge. She looked like a scared kid. I didn't think you'd come, she said. Samuel crossed his arms. You told the whole school I hit you. She winced. I didn't tell them that. You let them think it. Silence. I didn't know it would go this far, she whispered. You didn't care, he snapped. Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time he didn't feel sorry. He waited. She looked down at her sneakers. He grabbed me, she said suddenly. This older guy at a party. I pushed him, and I tripped on the stairs. Hit my face. That's how it happened. Samuel's stomach turned. Why blame me? She swallowed hard. My dad asked who did it. I said I didn't know. He got mad. Real mad. Said I was hiding something. Then he pulled out your name. Said he'd seen us talk once. Said it was that boy, wasn't it? And you said yes. I nodded, she whispered. I was scared. Samuel stepped back. You let me walk into a courtroom for something I didn't do. I didn't mean to, she cried. But then it was everywhere, and I didn't know how to fix it. You could have told the truth. Madison shook her head. Not to my dad. You don't know him when he's angry. Samuel stared at her. I know enough. Suddenly, a door creaked open above them. Heavy boots. Someone was coming. Madison's eyes went wide. If he finds me here with you. But it was too late. A voice boomed from above. Madison. Get away from him. Judge Cross stood at the top of the stairwell. And his eyes were full of fire. Judge Cross's footsteps thundered down the stairs like an avalanche. Madison backed away, her breath catching in her throat. Samuel didn't move. He stood his ground. You think this is a game? Cross growled, his eyes locked on Samuel like he was something to be erased. Madison stepped in front of Samuel. Dad, stop. Out of the way, he barked. She didn't move. I told him the truth, she said, voice shaking. You need to hear it. I know the truth, Cross snapped. And I know when someone's trying to manipulate my daughter. She's not lying, Samuel said, calm and cold. Not this time. Cross turned to him, nostrils flaring. You don't speak unless spoken to, boy. That word. Boy. The way he said it. Like a leash. Samuel took a breath and spoke louder. You were going to destroy me. Over nothing. I was protecting my family, Cross shot back. No, Samuel said, voice steady. You were protecting your ego. Madison turned to her father. He didn't do it. You were wrong. Something in Cross's face cracked, not just anger now. Panic. You have no idea what you've done, he muttered. You've exposed this family. You've made a fool of your own name. You did that yourself, she whispered. Above them, phones were recording. 2 reporters had followed the sound. Court security peeked through the stairwell door. One of the officers pulled out his radio. This is Officer Green. We've got a situation involving Judge Cross and a minor witness. Possibly hostile. The words rang like sirens. Judge Cross realized it too late. He turned toward the cameras. You think you've won? He said to Samuel. I think the truth won, Samuel answered. Cross took a step forward, but hands grabbed him. 2 bailiffs. Firm. Calm. Sir, we need you to step back. You're making a mistake, Cross hissed. Already made it, one of the bailiffs muttered. Madison stood frozen. Samuel gently touched her shoulder. Come on. They walked up the stairs together, leaving behind the echo of broken power. At the top, Samuel's mother was waiting. And behind her, his father. Elijah Wilson. The Attorney General. In person. And he wasn't smiling. Elijah Wilson stood like a wall made of granite. His suit was crisp, his tie tight, his eyes razor sharp. The hallway fell silent as he stepped forward. Reporters froze mid-sentence. Court staff backed away like he carried a badge made of fire. He didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to announce who he was. Power recognized power. He looked at Samuel first. You all right? Samuel nodded once. I'm okay. Wilson turned to Madison. Her eyes dropped. Her lips trembled. But she stood still. She told me the truth, Samuel said quietly. She was scared. Wilson looked at the girl for a long moment. Sometimes courage doesn't show up until the last second, he said. But it still counts. Then he turned toward the stairwell. Judge Cross was being let out in cuffs. His robe was off. His face red and tight with disbelief. You can't do this, Cross barked, fighting against the bailiffs. You're embarrassing the judiciary. No, Wilson said calmly. You did that the moment you weaponized your bench against a child. Cross lunged. You think this ends with me? I am this town. Wilson didn't even blink. Not anymore. Flashes burst from cameras. The story was no longer rumor. It was real. The judge had fallen. Samuel stood between his parents, his heart still pounding. Is he going to prison? He asked. Wilson looked down at him. That's not my decision, he said. But I'll make sure he gets the same justice he tried to deny you. Madison stepped forward. What's going to happen to me? She asked quietly. Samuel's mom looked at her, long, measured. That depends, she said. On what? On whether you keep hiding, she said, or if you help fix what your father tried to break. The girl nodded. I want to testify. The hallway seemed to inhale. Elijah Wilson gave her a single, sharp nod. Then let's clean this up, he said. Starting now. The courtroom wasn't the same anymore. The air was heavier. The audience quieter. Everyone had seen the footage. Everyone had heard the audio. Judge Cross's voice, full of venom. Madison's confession. Samuel's calm. And the moment Elijah Wilson walked into that building like the law itself had grown legs and come to collect. Now the courtroom belonged to justice again. Not intimidation. Not legacy. Just truth. Samuel sat beside his father at the defense table, this time as a witness, not a suspect. His mother sat behind them, unmoving, a quiet storm in her own right. Across the room, Madison sat alone. Her hair was tied back, her eyes red, but her shoulders were straight. The new judge, flown in from Dallas, leaned forward. You understand the weight of your statement, Ms. Cross? Yes, Your Honor, Madison said. Her voice was low but steady. I lied. I was scared of my father. I let him choose my words. You understand you may be charged with obstruction? I understand, she said. And I accept that. There was a long silence. Then the judge nodded. Continue. She told everything. The party. The fall. The pressure. The moment her father's voice made her freeze, and she chose silence over truth. When she finished, the room stayed quiet. No applause. No gasps. Just the cold stillness of accountability landing on the shoulders it belonged to. The judge turned to Elijah Wilson. Mr. Attorney General, do you wish to make a statement? Wilson stood. Slowly. Deliberately. I'm not here as the Attorney General, he said. I'm here as a father. As a man who almost lost his son to a lie made of pride and power. He looked across the room, to the reporters, the court staff, and the people who once whispered behind Samuel's back. You watched a child walk into a courtroom alone, he said. And none of you asked why. No one spoke. No one dared. My son was nearly condemned, not because of evidence, but because of assumptions. Because his skin made him a suspect before he ever spoke a word. The judge nodded solemnly. The court acknowledges the injustice. Charges against Samuel Wilson are hereby dismissed, and all records sealed. He looked to the bailiff. Bring in Judge Cross. The doors opened. Cross entered, hands cuffed, face pale but still burning with pride he hadn't yet learned to kill. The judge spoke again. Gerald Cross, you are being formally charged with abuse of power, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, and falsifying court proceedings. The gasp finally came. It echoed like thunder. Samuel looked at the man who tried to destroy him. And for the first time, he felt no fear. Only clarity. 1 week later, the courthouse was just a building again. No cameras. No chants. No headlines being written outside its doors. But the echo of what happened inside still lingered in the town like smoke after a fire. Samuel sat on the porch of his home, the Texas sun warming the wood beneath his feet. His mom brought him a glass of iced tea and kissed the top of his head before heading back inside. His father stood near the gate, on a call with Washington, the voice of justice still working, even here. But for Samuel, everything had slowed down. No more court dates. No more rumors. No more staring eyes when he walked down the hallway at school. Madison had issued a public apology. On camera. No script. No edits. Just her and the truth. Some believed her. Some didn't. But Samuel didn't care. The truth didn't need permission to exist. He pulled out his phone. Messages kept coming. Strangers thanking him. Kids saying they saw themselves in him. Teachers apologizing. One even cried in front of him in class. He didn't know how to respond to most of it. So he said what he meant: I didn't do anything special. I just didn't let them bury me. His dad walked over and sat beside him. No tie today. Just a quiet pride in his eyes. You did more than they'll ever know, Elijah said. Samuel shrugged. I just told the truth. Exactly, his father replied. And you didn't let anyone take it from you. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Samuel looked up. Will this happen again? To someone else? Elijah nodded slowly. It already has. And it will. But now they know someone fought back. That matters. Samuel leaned back in his chair. The sun dipped lower. He didn't feel angry anymore. Or scared. Or small. He felt seen. And that was enough. The end.